Regulating private equity feels like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how tight the grip, it slips, always just out of reach. That's because private equity isn't just another part of the financial world. It operates in shadows, between lines, in spaces where traditional rules fall apart. For those sitting in boardrooms, steering massive companies or portfolios, or investing their own hard-earned capital, this is the source of endless frustration. How can one control something that thrives on agility, secrecy, and complexity? It's like telling a wildfire where to burn. It resists, it evolves, it moves beyond the cage of regulation at every turn. The pain? It's real, and it's deep. It's the gnawing worry of what's unseen, the sleepless nights spent wondering if the next policy will shackle innovation or strangle opportunity. It's the dread of being caught in a system that pretends to protect, but often just protects itself, not you. This struggle is not just about rules, but about trust. Trust in the system, in your partners, in yourself. And when that balance tips, it feels like the ground crumbles beneath your feet. So why is private equity so hard to regulate? The answer isn't simple because the forces at play are layered with nuance, power, and intention. At the core lies the dual nature of private equity. It's designed to be nimble, fast-paced, and confidential. Investors seek freedom to make bold bets, reshaping companies behind closed doors without the endless hoops that public markets demand. This secrecy fuels growth and innovation, but also breeds suspicion and shadows, places where dark corners shelter potential abuses and opaque dealings. Regulators step in, but are hampered by fragmented laws, international borders, and the sheer complexity of financial engineering that masks real risk with intricate structures. No single framework can keep pace because private equity morphs faster than the laws trying to tame it. For those trying to steer legitimate activity, this is a minefield, where a misstep might come with crushing reputational or financial cost. But here's the heart of the fight. It's not just about tightening rules or adding oversight. The old model of simply layering more regulation on top only suffocates the very power private equity holds, the power to create value, to turn struggling businesses into engines of progress, to spark innovation where public markets drag their feet. Those who wield influence in private equity aren't just beasts to be caged. They are forces to be directed, harnessed in a way that respects freedom and fosters responsibility. The key lies in a radical rethinking, a shift from control to alignment. What's this shift? It's about building a new infrastructure for private equity, one that embraces transparency, not by forcing exposure, but by creating mutual accountability systems that everyone chooses to join. Imagine networks where investors, regulators, and companies aren't adversaries, but partners with shared interest in long-term success. Imagine harnessing technology, smart contracts, blockchain, real-time reporting, that turns compliance from a burden into a strategic tool, one that aligns incentives instead of dueling parties. This isn't some futuristic dream. It's happening now, quietly in corners where visionaries dare to innovate beyond fear and tradition. For the leaders watching this right now, this means something powerful. It's possible to lead in private equity without losing your edge or your freedom, but only if the mindset shifts completely. The old game of hiding behind complexity to dodge accountability is a trap, one that ultimately burns everyone. The new game? It's about becoming a beacon of clarity, a driver of trust through radical openness that attracts better deals, reduces risk, and forges partnerships built on real, not just legal commitments. It's about developing what can be called selective transparency, sharing enough to build trust and oversight, but preserving the agility to act decisively and privately where it counts. This balance, once mastered, turns regulation from an enemy into an ally. There's another truth bubbling underneath. The world's obsession with control comes from fear, the fear of the unknown, of power unchecked. But private equity is a reflection of a much larger tension in society. Systems want control to keep order, but real progress blooms from disruption and freedom. The front line of this tension is where the exceptional ones, leaders, investors, innovators, must stand firm. The system isn't built for the rare or the radical because it fears them. It wants compliance, not transformation. But here's the secret. The power isn't in the system. It lives in the individuals who refuse to be boxed in. This creates a choice that every CEO, every investor, every leader must face. Bend to the old ways and suffocate, or become the force that reshapes how private equity works from the inside out. How to do that? It boils down to 3 harsh but liberating steps. First, reject complacency. Don't settle for the illusion that regulation is a fixed wall. It's fluid, and so must your strategy be. Use complexity not as a cloak, but as a tool to anticipate, adapt, and innovate ahead of any rules. Build internal ecosystems that prioritize ethics, not because it's legally required, but because it fuels sustainability and opportunity. Second, connect fiercely, but selectively. Don't spread your network wide hoping for safety in numbers. Instead, find the few who burn as you do. Those rare players who own visions larger than quarterly profits, who want to redefine how business is done, who understand that liberation comes from shared strength across difference. Third, wield transparency ruthlessly. Not everything needs to be public, but what you do reveal must cut through noise and build unshakable trust. Let honesty be your weapon, not your weakness. This is not easy. It's a ruthless climb against inertia, skepticism, fear. But the prize? Total alignment of talent, capital, and impact that unlocks potential like never before. Private equity isn't just hard to regulate because it's complicated. It's hard because it reflects the same fierce conflict within each human striving for freedom and power, trust and control. To master this field isn't to surrender, but to lead boldly from the edge, to push out of comfort zones and build systems that don't just tolerate disruption, they thrive on it. Let this be clear. You are not alone in feeling the sting of a system designed to bind yet desperate to evolve. The real liberation lies in transcending old rules, creating new ways that honor individual sovereignty while forging collective power. The future of private equity depends on those willing to cast off illusions, reject the false comfort of the status quo, and embrace the freedom that comes from intentional, courageous becoming. Not by waiting for the world to change, but by shaking its foundations with purpose-driven, selective transparency, fierce connection, and transformational leadership. Every second spent wrestling with this challenge, every sleepless night, every tough call is building something bigger, an autonomous network where power distributes not by accident, but by design, where the rare link up, align, and become unstoppable, where the misunderstood are no longer isolated but amplified. This is the path beyond regulation, beyond rules, toward a future where private equity is not something to fear or cage, but something to wield, a force that's bold, responsible, free. Watch closely, learn deeply. This isn't just about navigating regulation. It's about owning your role as a leader who defies limits, who redefines reality, who connects the few to free the many. If the fire inside won't let you rest, this moment is yours. Step beyond the illusions, grab hold of the freedom that's always been waiting, and lead the revolution in private equity regulation that the world desperately needs but doesn't yet know how to ask for.